Hey everyone, welcome back to another special recording of the Legend Fiction Show. This one is for the upcoming con, Legend Haven 2023, Worlds Without End, and we are back with Sister Maria Grace Dateno. Welcome back, Sister. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
So today's topic is everything I wish authors knew about traditional publishing. So, brief bio if you didn't catch Sister's talk with us last year, and actually you've been on the podcast as well, which was wonderful. So she's always been a reader, but she only turned to writing and editing since answering God's call to join the Daughters of St. Paul. They are missionary sisters who communicate the gospel to the world through all means of communication. She's currently assigned as a children's book editor for the publishing house of the community, Pauline Books Media. She works to acquire and edit books for young people, toddlers through teens, including fiction and nonfiction. So, over to you, Sister. What's a lineup of everything you wish authors knew about traditional publishing?
Okay, so there's just a few things that we find that we need to get out there because there's been so many other ways of getting content and writing books and putting it out for people. Self-publishing in other various forms that people who used to just think, oh, you publish a book with a traditional publisher. Now that's not the default way. So we like to remind people of what the benefits are. And so what I wish that people would realize, one of the main things is that having an objective, experienced editor who's part of the publishing house invested in your book is a wonderful experience. I often have authors that I work with, thanking me afterward and saying what a great experience it was. I sometimes wish I could get them to sign a release so that I could use their words, but it's personal correspondence. But it's very affirming for them when because we're looking so closely at it and helping them to make it more of what they want it to be, and to have somebody look at it and say, oh, I love how you did this, but this I don't understand it, and then they explain it, and then you're like, oh, I think if you do this, whatever. So that kind of detailed editing experience that happens with a traditional publisher by an editor who's invested in the book coming out and the book reaching people is a great experience for our authors.
Absolutely. And especially because you're not only constantly reading a variety of different pieces of, submissions, and then you're publishing them, but you're constantly aware of what it is your audience actually wants, what your readers actually want from you. So it's personal experience, absolutely here. You're trying to write your own stories and your own novels. You get caught up in what you want to put into it. And so having a professional editor, like you say, stand alongside you and help you recognize this is what the audience actually wants. And if you can make these changes, this is what will help it actually land with them.
And this is the change that would help it say what you want it to say. You think it's saying this, but when I read it, I didn't get that the first time. So probably your readers won't either. So maybe let's look at it more carefully. That kind of help. And you can find editors. There's a lot of freelance editors. There's a lot of people who can help you with this, and that's great. But when you get to the point at a traditional publisher of having an editor, it's who's part of the organization who is investing in your book, then it's another whole relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, you can hire editors for all kinds of communities and all kinds of readership, audiences. But like you're saying, if you decide to go with a publisher, they're going to help you get the best result for the people that they're going to get it to.
Yeah. And then they're going to help you. That's another thing, is that to help you get it to those people. What we would call channels of distribution. Again, different publishers have different strengths in that area. And that's sometimes they won't accept a manuscript because they feel like they don't have the good channels of distribution to get it to the people who would really want it. So when you self-publish, you might have to do a lot more work to find those channels. And we do often have people who've self-published and then come to us and say, that and they realize that they're not getting it. It's not getting to the people they wanted to. A few of them, some of them, but not everybody finds it on Amazon or whatever. So that's another great benefit from traditional publishing, is those established channels of distribution, which also include offering it for license to foreign publishers, for translation and stuff like that, which is not easy access for people individually.
Right. Access to an audience. I mean, that's
Mhm.
massive for any author. The amount of legwork you have to put in and elbow grease to reach people, to the effort that goes into marketing, as opposed to people already know and trust Pauline Books and Media or the
Mhm.
publisher themselves. They've done the work of finding the people. So entering into a relationship with them to help you reach the right people, it makes life a lot easier. It takes longer, obviously. You're not going to see as fast a turnaround like
Mhm.
self-publishing, but it can work out really well in the longer run.
Another thing that I kind of would like authors out there to know is when you submit to a traditional publisher, and again, I can't speak universally, but as a general thing, because we have so many submissions, we can't really help you workshop your book if we're not going to acquire it. Like if we're declining it for whatever reason, we can't, like people say, well, then how come you didn't tell me why? You didn't why you don't want it or what's wrong with it or help me
Mhm.
make it to what you would like. But if we did that for every submission that came in that we declined, we wouldn't have time to do anything else. So
Right.
that would be like another job, and people get paid for doing that, helping you workshop your book. So
Mhm.
I'm a little by little I'm more and more inclined to give feedback on submissions that I'm declining it,
Mhm.
and I give I'm not we don't want you to resubmit, because if the publisher says very clearly, they would say, if you are interested in revising along this line, we would be happy if you resubmitted it. That's very clear. But if they don't say that, then it's just more to help you with their next thing, and that we would in the future like to see something else of yours.
Mhm.
But it's not that we don't want to help. I would really love to. I mean, but that would be, I'm not assigned to do that in my community. My superior didn't say I could
Mhm.
spend my whole time helping authors with their book. So that's it. It feels unfair, I think, sometimes to people who have submitted. It feels unfair that you don't say much why.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't say anything beyond it doesn't fill our needs.
Right.
But that's why. It's just the we're not able to. And if you do give feedback, it does sometimes give the impression that you want it back when you're not saying that. I'm just trying to help you with your next
Mhm.
thing, or see where you could do something. At least they could work on it a little bit before submitting it somewhere else.
Mhm.
It's just gratuitous. But I wish you could do it more. But that's one thing I always feel like I want people to understand,
Mhm.
why they don't get more like response.
Yeah, you're not a bunch of meanies. You're just overwhelmed with all of the submissions and the entries.
Yeah, yeah, we just can't do that for everyone.
So that little point there, that line that you
Mhm,
said doesn't fill our needs at this time and so on, or it
mhm,
just doesn't fit our needs.
mhm.
Is how does an author come to know maybe what those needs are before submitting?
That's a very good thing, very good question. Um, the first thing that you really, really should do is look at the guidelines, the submission guidelines.
Mhm.
Almost every publisher will have them, um, either more or less easy to find on their website.
Mhm.
We're on the verge of a huge website revision, so ours are
Cool.
there, pauline.org/submissions, and you go right to the file.
Mhm.
So if you read that carefully, that helps with the kind of things. And
Mhm.
then, follow the publisher on social media. Look at the stuff that they're doing and
Mhm.
the feeling of their publishing house, the books that
Mhm.
are coming out on their website or whatever. Like, do some research until you find one that is like feeling like your book will fit there,
Mhm.
and not just like sometimes people will say, well, you published this book, so my book is like it. But not just like one book, but like if you get the sense of the publishing house as a whole, that's one good way to do that.
Mhm.
But you can't know exactly, because at the moment it comes in, you don't know that somebody else, we're already working on something that's like, not the same thing, but it's too similar,
Mhm.
or whatever. You can't know all those kind of things, but do your best to research the
Does
publisher.
a traditional publisher or maybe your team, will you sometimes, like you just said, oh, we're already, we won't say this, but you're already working on something, you've already approved another manuscript, and this is too similar, so it doesn't work at this time. But would you ever take a manuscript and then just bank it and think 12 months from now, this is an excellent candidate, and we could see this maybe coming back at that time? Do
Um,
publishers do that?
I think we wouldn't do that because then they can't do anything with it for 12 months.
Right.
I have told people, like, right now, this, like, for some reason we can't take it. If you don't find another publisher, please, come back to us, because I would like to get back to doing this kind of thing or something like
Nice.
that.
Okay.
And I have specifically said, it's too similar to a book we're working on, like that. Sometimes we say that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those are the first 2 points. So the first one was the in-depth experience from the editors who are actually on your side to make it the best it can be. And then there's not taking it personally when they turn you down because they may just be overwhelmed or it doesn't fit their needs. Is there a third point?
Well, the other thing about if it's not accepted by a publisher, often, most of the time, it's that it isn't quite ready to be published yet. It's not quite there. I think the majority of what we get for kids, it's that situation.
Okay.
But just because it's not accepted, it doesn't mean that, like, you're not a good writer. It could be really good, but it's just that editor's opinion doesn't like it, or the team. Sometimes there's something I would like to publish, but our acquisitions team is not on board, or the marketing department is like, we don't really feel like we have the right, way to diffuse this book to get it to the people, or whatever. So there's a lot of different reasons. I think sometimes God also permits that one publisher would decline it because he has a different plan for your writing. Maybe there's another publisher or another purpose, or maybe you're supposed to be writing something else and he's moving you along to that. Or maybe you need to grow in patience and perseverance. I don't know. I mean, like, it could be God permits this kind of what feels like rejection. We don't call it rejection. We say we're declining a manuscript. You're like offering it and we decline it. So when that happens, it doesn't mean give up or you're not good. You're not doing a good job. It means keep going, keep trying, and ask and be open to where God is leading you. So there's always, God has a plan, I know, for everyone. And each thing what we write, it's something that we put out there, but God has his own plan in his own time. It will come to be clear.
Yeah. And you've even experienced this yourself, haven't you? You've written and published your own novels. I imagine you've gone through some of this too. So you're not just sitting in a ivory castle. You've actually experienced this yourself.
Yeah. Well, the only published fiction I have is the one kids book of series that I did. I can't compare it exactly because I'm a member of the community, so I definitely have an in to submit my books. I just say, oh, look, but I have written something. I have written or proposed to write something that was not, that was declined. Yeah. And also I've written a lot of things that are not, I haven't shown anybody because they're not ready. I did NaNoWriMo for several years. So I have multiple NaNoWriMo drafts.
Oh, wow.
That the last one, I think I definitely want to go back to it sometime. One of them will never see anybody, no eyes will look at it.
Okay.
But the first one I did, I actually I wrote it, my first NaNoWriMo, and I had so much fun, and that I couldn't believe that I could finish a whole book in 30 days, one draft, and I worked on it and I edited it a lot. But and that it was declined. I don't know. I think what it is we feel when we furnish our first complete manuscript, your first novel, it often is not publishable. It's just because it's the first, and it's meant to be a thing that you learn on, and then you go on to do other things. I've come to realize that. Maybe eventually I will try to go back and see if I can take the nugget of that book and do something with it, but it's not really suitable. It has too many things that need work on it. And I thought recently of kind of the analogy of if you start to make layer cakes, and the very first decorated layer cake you make is probably not going to come out good enough to sell in a bakery. Like it's going to be kind of lopsided in the icing and whatever, but you don't take that cake and work at it and try to make it look perfect and smooth it and all that and try to get it sellable at a bakery. You just like take it and like you're like, wow, that was my first attempt. Look, it came out amazing. And you enjoy it with your family and friends and eat it and then start over and make another cake and keep going. So I sometimes feel like we get submissions sometimes that people are so excited. It's their first thing, they finished it and here it is. But it's not usually, the first thing is not usually gonna make it. Like it's not usually, it's a learning tool, I feel like. And maybe after you do others, you might want to come back and take it and do something new with it. But just kind of like an encouragement to look at each one, like enjoy it for what it is, but move on and write something else. Like
just keep writing.
Yeah, keep writing.
Wonderful. It's very heartening, I think, because we can get very hung up on either negative feedback or an editor maybe not being in love with it the same way that we are. But sometimes it's just a matter of expertise and subscribing to podcasts and following people who can prompt you to keep writing and help you to be a better editor. I think that has been a skill I didn't know I was learning. But because I wasn't writing for a long time, so I'd spend all my time editing my past writing, which is probably a different problem. But it did teach me a lot about thinking very hard and carefully about the words that are being used. And I'll see a lot of self-published stuff today, especially because of the community that we're in. And I can see the stuff that gets published and think, okay, you need to spend maybe another year just honing the skill, honing the craft, because the germ of the story, the nugget is there and it's fun.
The ideas are amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you need to keep training yourself to be a better writer so that others will actually enjoy it more seamlessly.
And do you find when you're editing like that if you've put something aside for long enough, you can see it more clearly and more objectively?
It's very true.
When it's fresh, it's like it's too close, it's hard to see what it needs.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Yeah, that's the whole point. Keep writing. Either keep journaling or keep blogging or start a new project and give yourself some of that distance. Wonderful. Well, thank you for dropping the URL for where people can check out the submissions guidelines. So you said it was pauline.org/submissions?
Submissions, yeah. Pauline, Pauline, pauline.org.
And then just to reiterate, you publish and you're looking for content that's for teens and I think you said toddlers is what I saw.
All the way, kids all the way from toddler up to teens.
Okay.
And is what we do. So fiction. So for probably people that are watching this, it's probably more teens, like YA fiction with teen level characters and stories, and middle grade fiction. Or a little like chapter books or something. We do a lot of picture books too, but I don't know whether you have people that are doing kids picture books.
We do have some.
Yeah,
I think most of them are like teen YA drama and fantasy sci-fi fiction stuff.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Well, we would love more of that.
Well, you're one of the people that we love sending everybody to. So friends, if you're a legend in the community and you're writing on something, check the submission guidelines and maybe reach out to Sister Maria. How do you like people to reach out to you when the manuscript is done or once they've written, say, the first 3 chapters and they've got an outline and a query letter?
Really, for actually submitting something, it has to be finished and polished. For fiction, if you're in like groups of like I'm part of Catholic Writers Guild. I participate a little bit. Sister Allison participates a little bit, and I think a little bit here in Legend Fiction and Fable Hive and whatever. There's some of these different groups. If you're like in a group like that, you can always say, "What do you think of this?" Just when it's beginning. But if it's going to be submitted to a publisher for fiction, it has to be finished and polished. Nonfiction can sometimes be like, here's my idea, here's an outline, here's just 2 sample chapters, and I'm an expert for these reasons, and what do you think? But for fiction, you can't do that because a lot of people have a great idea. Oh, I have an idea for a story like this, but can you execute it? That's what we have to see. So I'm afraid for fiction, it has to be completed.
There you go. Okay. Extra bonus tip right at the end, everybody. So thanks again, sister. It was wonderful to have you back. And I hope more people continue to check out and explore if traditional publishing works for them. Either way, you're going to need help with editing, and you'll probably want a community to give you feedback. And so I'm going to invite you to come check us out for free at the Legend Haven convention. It's October 14th, unless you're watching this replay afterwards. In that case, sorry you missed it. We had a ton of fun and we missed you. But you can always come and join us at the Legend Fiction community, where we have just teams of adults, and there's teenagers giving and getting feedback, sharing their works in progress, and then often tripling their writing output because they're having a ton of fun. And then when you're ready to consider publishing, we have agents who can help hook you up to the right traditional publisher, or you can reach out to people like Sister Maria at pauline.org/submissions. So thank you so much. Check the links in the description to go a little further, and we look forward to seeing you there. God bless everybody. Keep writing.
Bye, Dominic.